Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's your boy Josh Hardbody with
Diamond Steve, and you are listening to Two Average Bros Podcast, Episode 2.
It's February 9th, 2021. Steve! 1981 was 40 years ago. How old do you feel?
I feel super old, seeing how I'm 35.
I'm a complete boomer. I don't know how to open a PDF or work these audio equipment that we're dealing with.
We literally just spent almost an hour trying to fix the audio to make sure we could record this episode. And Josh, what is this episode about?
It's about all things finishes, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between.
So how do you want to start this off? Do you want to start this off with finishers? Just go into it and start talking like we did last time? Honestly, we didn't really have a quick pro quo, like how to laid out. We just talked. Maybe that's what the fans want. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want to listen to us just talk for an hour. Seemed to work. We got a couple views. 25, no big deal.
That's right.
We're going to keep building. We're going to keep going.
We're about to make that YouTube money with 25 viewers, right? Well, I think a good place to start is, Steve, what makes a good finish to a match?
A good finish to a match is a story. Okay, when I watch a match, I want a story being told to me, not just two guys fighting. I want to see the blood, the sweat, the tears. And when that one guy wins, you are either foaming at the mouth because of it, or you are cheering in your own household because of it.
I definitely agree. What makes wrestling great is here's two guys that don't like each other, they're going to fight, and here's why you should care.
Exactly. Why should I care if two random jobbers are fighting? Why should I care if we see the same match we've seen 5 times in a week on a TV show? Or let me rephrase what I just said. 5 times in a row on 5 different Raws in 5 different places. You know what I mean? Like, is that making sense what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. If you get the same stale matchup again and again and again, you quit caring as a fan.
I quit caring the 9th time I see Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre.
Or the 10th time you see smarmy heel Seth Rollins run away with the belt.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, it works. When you do it right, it works. Being the smarmy heel who's running around, has his 2 goons, has a whole faction to protect him. But the problem I have with it is that you never see... Okay, perfect example, right? Sting at least got some hits on the NWO back in the day.
Yeah.
DDP got the diamond cutter.
On everybody, baby.
On everybody. But I'm mostly talking about the NWO, like the guys who were holding all the belts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were able to touch them. Nowadays, you see a slimy heel, and it's like every week something happens where they run off, or they don't finish the match completely. It's like watching a Hacksaw Jim Duggan match from the 80s. You want to know how many times that dude actually has been pinned or pinned anyone?
I don't know, Steve. Tell me.
At all the times I can count, 3 or 4. That's it.
Yeah, all the rest of them are brawls to the back, double count out, all that stupidity.
Yeah,
Speaking
exactly.
of terrible finishes.
Speaking of terrible finishes, let's start with that. Let's start with the brawls to the back where the match does not continue. How often do we see that nowadays? Not very often, because usually the refs just let it go, and you don't get told anything about the rules at the beginning of the match, even though you know it's a straight-up falls match.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't be able to go to the back and fight and then come back to the ring. But in the 80s, man, you saw it a lot. You see dudes just get in the ring, 2 seconds of fighting, then all of a sudden they're in the entranceway and they're gone.
The one that stands out to me in particular is that this was a feud I was really excited about as a kid. It was the Natural Disasters and the Legion of Doom, or the Road Warriors. They have their big pay-per-view match, and then it's a double count-out brawl to the back. Like, well, I paid $60 for this. I need to see a finish.
Yes, I want to see the tables turn. I want to see the tag titles get handed over. I want to see someone get hit with the giant whoopsie.
Yes,
I mean?
yeah, from
Like, I
Earthquake.
want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like, the Legion of Doom isn't going to be putting either one of the Natural Disasters on their shoulders and hitting the Doomsday device.
The Doomsday Device.
But then again, they were some Rory Magoos, so they might have been able to.
I don't think they're that big. I don't think they're... That is a great finisher, though, the Doomsday Device.
Well, the Doomsday device is an excellent tag team finisher, and we can get to tag team finishes
Sure,
here in a
sure.
minute. So, what are some other finishes to matches that you don't particularly care to see as a fan?
One that we see a whole lot these days, in particular in AEW, is disqualification, just big schmoz brawl in the middle of the ring, they ring the bell, and it's all over with. It happens week after week, match after match, and it gets pretty old. One time, is fine, but doing it over and over again is a big problem.
No, I completely agree. And I am totally in agreement with that aspect because I get tired of seeing things getting built up the way they are nowadays. Nowadays, you got a guy who's supposed to fight another guy at a pay-per-view, but you're watching them fight 5 times before the pay-per-view.
Oh,
You're supposed to be seeing them at the pay-per-view. Why do I want to buy a pay-per-view if I've already watched Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns fight 5 times on Raw?
yeah,
Like they're supposed to fight.
and Seth loses. Not only do we see them fight, we see Seth lose over and over again.
Yes, exactly. And it's not; those aren't the only two that it happens to. Because you got Drew versus Randy, and they fought like 4 times. Then they had the ambulance match, and it's just ridiculousness. I just don't like it.
And I don't think there's any good way to have a finish in a match like an ambulance match. It just never works. It's never believable. Or the Buried Alive, very similar. I know it's Taker and everybody loves Taker, but here's a hot take.
Well,
It's a silly gimmick and silly finishes.
Well, let's be honest here. Every Buried Alive match was just Taker's way of going on hiatus for a couple months.
But duh.
Just like back in the 90s when a lot of his matches were the coffin matches, he would go on hiatus. I don't know if hot take, everybody. Undertaker only won like 2 coffin matches.
He beat
2 or 3.
He beat Kamala and who?
Yoko.
And Yoko. Those are the only 2 I can
In
think
the
of.
second one. And that's the thing that I don't understand. Oh no, he also lost to Orton in a coffin match when him and Bob set it on fire. And then he came back and they did the Hell in a Cell, and then Taker got pissed because Bob was like Hep C or whatever, or Hep A, and he bled all over Taker, and no one knew until after that moment. But it's just little things like that. Like, you didn't see Taker and Randy fight every week during that feud.
No.
You heard the Taker's dong. You saw like little scare tactics that they were using to scare Randy into thinking Taker was back. But you didn't have to watch them fight every single week.
And that's not so much a problem with finishes. It is a problem with finishes because we're seeing a finish with the same guys every week, again and again and again, that culminates in a pay-per-view with a matchup that we've already seen a bunch of times. And it defeats the whole purpose of what we're doing with booking that's going to make me care.
I completely agree with that statement. Now, moving on from that, we were kind of getting off topic here talking about the matches that we see every week.
Sure.
And then having to watch it on a pay-per-view. Even if that pay-per-view is like some stupid stipulation of some kind, like either a Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber, things like that. You know,
Or a stairs match.
Or a chairs match.
Oh, man.
But let's talk about finishers.
Okay.
Let's talk about finishers. What would you say is the worst finisher in wrestling today?
Today?
Today.
Oh, man. This is, and I know you're going to bring this up, and I'm going to beat you to the punch for it. It's not that it's a bad finisher, but these running knees and running kicks, it's not that the finisher's bad, it's that everybody's doing them.
See, I agree with you. When you got a guy like Drew McIntyre, who is built like a brick hoop house.
You already cursed, Steve. You can
All
say,
right, brick shit house.
There you go.
And you got him doing a running knee. And like, this doesn't make sense to me. Let's give this guy the crucifix powerbomb. I mean, Sheamus ain't doing it no more.
No.
Let's give this guy the jackknife. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Give him something to show me he is powerful.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion on the matter. I'm not saying the running knees and all that are bad, but it's like you said. I think too many people are doing the running knees or the running kick or the running elbow or some other dumb shit like that. How many people do a strike as a finisher right now?
Oh, a whole bunch.
Let's name a few. Shinsuke.
Yep. Asuka.
Daniel. Asuka. Drew.
Yeah. Adam Page.
Adam Page. I'm the one's on the tip of my tongue and I can't freaking think of it.
What's
right
the
now.
move?
It's not a finisher. Oh no, it's a finisher. Judas Effect. The Judas Effect.
Chris Jericho.
Does.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. Just stick to the line, Tamer Bud. You're like 50.
Or El Generico. I'll call him by his Christian name.
Yeah,
Sami
the boot
Zayn.
kick.
Yeah, with the hell of a
And
kick.
honestly, I'm not even a big fan of like the jumping on someone's chest. Like Finn Balor, I can have more than that. And I understand he's been doing that since like New Japan.
Yeah.
And I get it. I just don't like it.
He's got another cool move that could be used as a finish of the 1916.
Yes.
That's a cool move.
But it gets kicked out of every time.
Yeah.
Nothing is protected anymore.
And that's the real issue that we run into here. It's not that there's that many bad finishes these days. It's that nothing's protected. When Jake Roberts hit you with a DDT, it was 1, 2, 3 every time. How many guys do a DDT now?
Oh, everyone does a DDT, but there's variations of the DDT now. You got Moxley who does the double underhook, kind of like
Yep. Cactus Jack.
Cactus Jack.
Yep.
Maybe sometimes he elevates it a little bit.
Oh, it's
You
devastating.
got Bobby Roode with the elevation spinning DDT. You have.
That's about it for the finishes.
I thought there was a tag team that did like a. No, that's the cutter that the Private Party does.
Oh, the gin and juice?
Yeah.
That's a tremendous finisher.
Yeah, it's a tremendous finisher. But does it stand with the other tag team finishers like Doomsday Device
No.
or the Heart Attack?
No. If I'm making a list of tag team finishers that are great, I'm doing the Doomsday Device. I'm doing the Heart Attack. I'm doing the 3D. Those are kind of my top 3 that just come off the top of my
think
head.
any wrestling fan would probably put those in their top 3. I'm a big fan of the what is it called from ECW? You're a big ECW, Mark.
Sure.
Saturn and
Total elimination.
Elimination.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And the Ascension did that move as well. I don't know what they called it. It was just total elimination. John Cronus and Perry Saturn represent.
Yeah, Perry, get help. We miss you.
Oh, Perry, man.
But you look at these finishers today, and I can't believe them. The only ones I really believe that are causing a lot of pain are the submissions, the submission finishers. Like, I feel like the figure 8 actually hurts when Charlotte puts on one of these ladies.
I really love that Charlotte does the figure 4 and then bridges it into the figure 8. It pays homage to her dad, but then she puts her own twist on it, and it's great. And she's the right size. She's long and lean, and it just really, really works. And it looks like it hurts.
When you watch the Bastard Pack put someone in the Ring of Saturn,
Yeah.
how do you feel?
I love it because I like the Rings of Saturn as a finisher, or the Brutalizer in Pac's case. But what he does is he hits the Black Arrow and then wraps him into the Rings of Saturn, and it's devastating. Love it. And Pac looks like a monster. I mean, looks like $1 million. He's short, but that dude looks like a friggin' action figure.
Oh man, he probably comes with kung fu grip and everything.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I'm gonna bring up a finish I didn't really care for.
Sure.
You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
He's got the whole world in his hands. When the little boy was singing to John Cena, and Bray Wyatt won. John Cena
Yep.
buried Bray Wyatt, and I know we discussed this in the last pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Or in the last episode, and the pay-per-view that we were talking about was WrestleMania 30,
Sure,
which
sure.
was our first WrestleMania we watched together.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag tear in the eye.
Yeah.
But no, like, you watched like 4 more matches and they were horrible finishes. I feel like Bray Wyatt is cursed with horrible finishes. What's the one where Dean had the TV and it exploded in his face? Remember that?
Yeah,
and him and
Superdome.
Bray.
Yeah.
And then you had the child singing to Cena,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just had like the goons beat up Cena, and somehow Cena would still win. Like, it doesn't make sense anymore, and I don't understand why we just can't put over a guy like Bray Wyatt, who has gotten himself over more times than I can count.
Well, and not only that, Bray is a victim of stupid finishes, being involved with stupid finishes with other people, and just getting beat clean at the end of a feud over and over again in the middle of the ring.
Yes, exactly. He doesn't get a clean finish either.
Mhm.
That's one other thing. Like, either A, his dumb Magoos have to come in and screw it up
Yeah.
to where he gets this, like, confused and then gets thrown into AA of some kind, or gets hit with the dirty deeds, or you got Dean coming out with like a hot dog cart or something of the sort.
What were they thinking?
I mean, they were trying to make him a PG Austin. Let's talk about it. They were trying to make him a PG Austin.
And he's not an. It's really WWE really dropped the ball. Dean Ambrose or John Moxley's not Piper. He's not Austin. He's another Brian Pillman. And let's book him that way. Let him cut the Pillman type promos, work the Pillman type matches, the loose cannon, the crazy guy. He doesn't need to come out with a hot dog cart and an exploding TV or a fire extinguisher where he just sprays the guys with them. Come on.
Oh, yeah, and then let's talk about someone else who was hurt with horrible finishes.
Sure.
Dean. Or John Moxley.
Well, we'll go with Dean Ambrose because it's the WWE
Yeah, okay, we'll
booking
do that.
that was so bad.
The Dean Ambrose booking was pretty bad. Like, you have this guy do a hardcore match with Brock at WrestleMania, and
Yeah.
he just gets buried. Like, I think I rewatched that match, like, a couple months ago, and I don't think Dean gets a lick of offense in. And it's, like, maybe 1 or 2 hits.
Yeah.
That's it.
Why do you bury a guy like that? A guy that held the U.S. title for friggin' ever. And then you just bury him.
Not even burying him because of that. Just bury him in general. Like, the fans he was over. It's like WWE is like, you will not like what we don't want you to like. And Dean Ambrose isn't who we want you to like. We want you to like Roman. So, fuck Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, but the problem with that is we liked Roman, and then the time passed. And fans don't like to be told what to and not to like. Now, in the WWE's defense, you can't let the inmates run the asylum, but at some point, you've got to listen to your audience.
Well, at some point, you have to listen to your audience when your audience is literally ready to riot over outcomes of matches.
Mm-hmm.
Like, someone has to be looking at Vince McMahon and being like, hey, bro, we got to do something different. And you would think, at one point, my hopes were for Triple H when he took over. But I don't think that's going anywhere either. Because, one, Vince is going to run that company till he dies.
Yeah.
Like, he'll be in his deathbed still getting scripts for Raw. And being like, I don't like it.
Make 'em fart.
Lethal dose of poison.
Ugh, Vince, terrible. But and it sounds like we're not talking about finishes, but we really are, because the finish is what happens. It's when it happens. It's who's doing it and how it makes you feel as a fan.
How'd you feel as a fan watching Daniel Bryan win at 30?
I loved it.
Exactly. Are you a Daniel Bryan fan?
No.
Exactly. I did not want Batista, and let's call him by his Christian name,
Bautista.
or Randall James Orton to win that match.
Oh, man. Speaking of finishers, Randy Orton is a guy, look, he's got a ton of ability. He's got a great look. He's got a great theme song. He can work in the ring. He's so boring, but he has this great finish with the RKO or the Diamond Cutter.
He hears voices. They counsel him. That's all I have to say about that.
I cannot stand Randy Orton. Get off of my television.
I am not a fan of Randy Orton. I was a fan of Randy Orton at one point in time. Like when he was in Legacy and he was the young whippersnapper, smart, slimy heel. Cool, can get dig down into it. The Legend Killer, loved it.
Oh, yeah, that worked.
I don't like this new Randy Orton where he's almost like, who is another guy I can think of? Big Show. 1 week he is a face,
Yeah.
and the next week he's a heel out of nowhere for no reason.
And they work the matches no differently.
Exactly. Punch, 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 kick, kick, kick. Little DDT off the second rope. Some cool way to do the RKO out of nowhere.
Yeah. And who
Hey,
did it
everybody.
first?
Spoiler alert, I just named every Randy Orton match.
You left out the punt.
Ooh. Correct, I left out the punt. That he usually misses in a match because it's devastating, apparently, according to WWE.
Well, when you give somebody a potato with that punt, that's bad news. That's concussion city.
Alright, but let's think about it real fast, okay?
Mhm.
What other finishes can we think about? Like, we're really just picking wrestlers and talking about finishes in the matches.
Sure.
I hit my guy, we hit your guy. We kind of talked about it in between, talking about Dean.
Sure.
Or talking about Randy.
Yeah.
Neither one of us really care for Randy.
No.
But let's talk about finishes real fast. What
Sure.
is the top 10 finishers in your repertoire right now?
Oh, man, 10 of them?
Come on, give it to me.
Well, number one is the Diamond Cutter. I love the Diamond Cutter, and part of the reason is DDP was the right guy with the right move, and that finish was protected. Nobody kicked out of that finisher if he got on top of you right on it. And anytime somebody did kick out of it, they did the thing where he's crawling and trying to cover him with the arm, like with Goldberg when he kicks out of the Diamond Cutter at Halloween Havoc.
During the Halloween Havoc match,
Yeah.
they got cut off and people got their money back for that pay-per-view.
Oh, and they should have. And then that match was probably Goldberg's best match.
Fun fact, I was one of those people.
I didn't pay for it. I watched it on Nitro for free, so I got the good deal
Well, I
there.
didn't think I was going to get it on Nitro for free.
That's
All right,
fair.
so give me number 2.
This is in no particular order. I love Savage off the top rope, that elbow. That's a great finish.
You know who has a great elbow off the top rope is that little
Was it Carrie San?
Carrie Sains, Carrie, the Pirate Girl.
Yeah,
We're just
yeah,
gonna call
yeah.
her the Pirate Girl. I love her elbow off the top.
Yeah,
rope.
that was tagging with
Asuka.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were the slimy tag team foreign heels, and,
Yeah.
and Vince apparently loves those.
And they're like, we come to kill America.
Good.
Kill America good.
But
Which I hate those gimmicks, but I like Carrie San a whole lot. And I like Asuka too, but I don't think her finisher quite makes the cut. I love the figure four. I love the torture rack from Luger. Big fan of the sharpshooter. I like a lot of these submission finishers because they're devastating. I like the Walls of Jericho, the classic Walls of Jericho, not the generic Boston Crab where he's really got him bent over. Big fan of the One-Winged Angel right now.
that's my number one right now.
That's a good one. The One-Winged Angel, big fan. Big fan of all these package pile drivers that we're seeing in AEW with Phoenix and Penta. They're doing moves like that. Big fan of those as a finish. The Stone Cold Stunner. I mean, the list goes on. I don't think I'm at 10, but there's a bunch of really, really good ones.
Let's talk about some finishers right now, though. You brought up the One Ring Angel, and I know it's not new.
No,
I get it.
no.
But I feel like a lot of people are getting introduced to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because Kenny Omega was a big star. Yes, he is a big star. New Japan.
Yeah.
How many people are watching New Japan, though? Like, I tuned in on YouTube to New Japan, like Kenny Omega versus Okada, like number 3, number 1,
Yeah.
number 2. I turned into Kenny Omega winning the U.S. title.
Yeah.
And I turned into all these different things from New Japan. Now, am I watching New Japan? No. But I am tuning into some matches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want to watch this Moxley and
And Kenta.
Kenta.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Like, a lot of it feels like it's harder hitting. You know what I mean? I feel like you watch like a New Japan match, and this is what I'll say about New Japan. When you watch those matches, like, those dudes are dropping each other on their head for money and my entertainment, and they're taking some years off their lives. Because a lot of this, and you know what's funny? It's still protected. You know what I mean? Like, they're still really safe with each other. I don't know what it is. It just looks like it hits harder.
Well, it's that strong style. It's really, really snug, as they say in the business. They're laying it in. They're hitting each other, but it's all still worked. And it's good stuff. I'm a big fan of Shinsuke Nakamura. I love the way that he works. I love the charisma. Loved the theme song before they changed it.
Now it's like, kick you in the balls, yeah.
I heard they brought it back, but I haven't watched WWE.
I haven't watched WWE in a while, or at least I have. I mean, the only thing I really watch from WWE is I look at like the top 10 for Raw and SmackDown just to keep going, what's going on. Oh, by the way, LOL, Edge is what's going on.
Terrible. Don't care.
I'm not
Turn
saying
the channel.
anything against Edge, but there's so much young talent in WWE that you can sit here and do something. And they're over, and like the young talent's over too, and that's why I don't understand. Like Ricochet is over.
Yeah.
I'm not saying put the world title on him.
No.
But don't make him job every week, because that's what he's doing.
Yeah, or you looked at a guy like Elias that got himself over.
Oh, man.
Or Aleister Black. You know, these guys, they have a place on the show. And it's a place on the marquee. Is it in the main event? Well, maybe, maybe not. But there's a place there for them. And we're either not seeing them or they're getting jobbed out every week.
One thing I will have to give WWE right now, and they kind of took this from Impact Wrestling, is the Hurt Locker, or the Hurt Business. I am digging that faction with MVP, Apollo Crews, the other young kid, and Bobby Lashley. I think they're doing that very well, and if they were smart, and seeing how they're on Raw, they would put all the titles on them and make them the big heel group for for a couple months or whatever.
Instead of trying to do the retribution thing where they just kind of like, I guess we're
They
not doing that
completely
anymore.
dropped the retribution ball. Like, I don't know what they were doing, but then all of a sudden, the kid with the fucking glowy hand comes out and goes, "I'm the leader."
Oh, Ali?
Yeah, Mustafa
Yeah.
Ali or whatever his name is, and that just doesn't make any sense to me. You want to
No,
talk about
no.
horrible finishes to things? That's a horrible finish to a storyline.
You brought up Bobby Lashley. That's a guy that early on in his career in WWE couldn't work a lick. Looks like $1 million, but the work in the ring was really subpar. He went to Impact, improved his craft. He has come back, and he's watchable in the ring now, and he's got that good spear finish.
He's got the good spear finish, and he does it so differently. It's not just like a straight spear to spear. Like, he's spinning off of the guy that he's spearing, and I don't know what it is. It just looks better. It looks better than Roman's. It looks better than Goldberg's. It definitely looks better than Edge's.
Yeah, Edge is a guy that I never bought the spear as a finish from. Like, what, this guy with a spear?
Well, no, this dude's what, probably pushing 230, 220?
Maybe.
Not even back then, though. Like, now he looks, you look at Edge now, he looks jacked. Like, a lot jackeder than he did in 2010 or whatever.
He looks old.
I mean, he looks really old. And Christian looks super old, too, BT dubs. But no, I like Lashley. I like the power moves. He can work. Unlike a Brock Lesnar, he doesn't just have one move that people have just gravitated to. Suplex City. Do something else, Brock. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to have to break with you here. I'm definitely a resident of Suplex City, the first mayor, Taz.
Well, no, okay, yeah, but you're not talking about like being a fan of Brock Lesnar. So are you really disagreeing with me?
I like Suplex City, and it can work at certain times. Like when he just smashed Cena to win the belt, it really worked. But then they did it again and again and again and again, and that's the problem.
Well, my problem is when you take the title off a guy and you take the title off TV for like a whole year, and the guy holds on to it and only shows up for what, the Rumble,
Yeah.
Survivor Series, SummerSlam, and Mania.
And that's it.
I honestly am a firm believer in part-timers shouldn't have the belt. Like, you should be giving it to your guys that are workhorses. I'm not saying like a Hurricane Helms or anything like that.
Sure.
But like a Drew McIntyre, who has it right now. And I am completely pleased with the fact that he beat Goldberg at the Royal Rumble. No ifs, and buts about it. He beat him.
Color me surprised that
I
happened.
was totally surprised, and I was like, they're about to put this belt on Goldberg and do like another Goldberg versus Brock match, which is just going to make me want to lose my lunch. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised with the female Royal Rumble this year. Bianca Belair. I think there's a lot of potential there. I don't know what she's doing with the whole hair gimmick thing, like beating dudes with it and all that, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's
different.
cool. We can get past that.
But honestly, if we're watching anything for finishes nowadays, it's definitely got to be AEW when it comes to finishes of storylines, finishers, just about everything. Unless you're watching like one of these crazy like ladder matches where they're doing like Canadian destroyers off the top of the ladder and then dude's still able to get up and stop them from getting the belts. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I tell you, I really loved the Canadian Destroyer when Petey Williams first broke it out, and then it was a silly move that got sillier, and now people are kicking out of it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, it's totally ridiculous because, and again, the one I particularly am talking about, the one that Pentagon Jr. did to...
It was one of the Bucks.
It was Nick or Matt. And they do it from the top of the ladder. And it's like, how is this dude still alive?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I used to watch dudes in the 80s that wouldn't get back up after Hogan dropping a leg on them.
Yeah.
Talk about horrible finishes, by the way. And that's where my disbelief has to come into play here. Like, you're sitting here trying to sell me, but I just watched a guy pretty much die off the top of the ladder.
Well, and that's it's part of the good and the bad with the AEW. And I'll talk about the Lucha Bros and in particular Ray Phoenix here. Ray Phoenix is absolutely incredible. He gets in the ring, he does something different every time, and he almost kills himself every time, and it's super exciting, and I'm into it. However, when you do things like that, you start pulling off these crazy moves, like the apron brainbusters and pile drivers and Canadian destroyers and guys kicking out at two when they should be freaking in an ambulance.
Are you saying that Jim Cornette's correct?
I'm saying that Jim Cornette needs to lay off of AEW. However, he's got a point.
Does he have a point in the fact of like how he used to talk about ECW and he says you watch this guy get beat with a ladder, next week it's 10 ladders. Or he gets hit 10 times or gets Singapore cane.
Yeah.
Next week it's 20 times.
Or New Jack, he's got to jump from the balcony this week. And then he's got to jump from the top of the basketball goal. And then he's got to jump from a giant scaffolding. It gets higher and higher and higher. And not only do they have to do that, the crowd doesn't chant New Jack, New Jack, New Jack. They chant ECW.
And that's where I have to agree with Jim Cornette.
Yeah, and I love ECW. I think ECW had a lot of good things going for him. RVD, really good. Big fan of the Impact players. I liked Rhino. I like Sabu. I know you don't like Sabu, but I think
it's not
he's
that I
got a
don't like
place.
Sabu. I just think people put him up on a pedestal where he doesn't deserve to be.
That's fair. Like, I don't know that he's like a quintessential Hall of Fame guy. He's a hardcore legend, and that's cool.
Yeah, But the problem with Sabu is 55% of the time his shit doesn't actually go off.
That's true, but when it does, it's
No,
spectacular.
well, I mean, you can say that about anyone.
Yeah.
You can say that about a freaking Tyson Kidd if you really wanted to.
Hey, Tyson Kidd's not a bad worker.
Tyson Kidd, let's just throw this out here. Tyson, good for you.
Oh, Natty, what's up, girl? What's your name? Natty, I want you to at me on Twitter, by the way. It's at Hardbody.
At Diamond Steve. But no, so let's go back into this. All right, so we're talking finishers. We're
Sure.
talking finishes. We've talked about the good. We've talked about the good finishes. We've talked about the bad finishes. We've talked about the good finishers.
Sure.
Let's get into these bad finishers.
Okay.
Let's talk about the worst. And the only thing we've really talked about so far is my disliking of like a lot of these knees and stuff. But let's
Sure.
talk about bad finishers.
Well, the big one I always gravitate to, and everybody else does too, it's Hogan dropping the leg. Is it Hogan? Is it the leg drop? What is the problem with that finisher? Where's the hate come from?
The hate comes from the fact that maybe it's because this dude is billed at 300 something pounds.
Sure.
You know what I mean, a brick shit house. I've already broken the code and cursed, so
Yeah, we're already
it's
demonetized.
already demonetized. And honestly, we're not here to make money. We're here to entertain. So, but let's talk about it for a second. Maybe if he had something different. I was never a big. When I was a Hulkamaniac, when I was a kid, I believed in the leg drop. Like when people kicked out of the leg drop, I was foaming at the mouth. Like, how dare you kick out of the leg drop?
How could
But then
you do
again,
it?
how many people actually kicked out of the leg drop?
Not many.
I think Warrior kicked out of it at WrestleMania 6, and this is only in the Fed.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's the only cat I can think of that got a leg drop and kicked out. Actually, I disagree. Yoko at the 92, 93 King of the Ring, I think kicked out of it. If I'm not mistaken. Put it in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that
Sure.
I'm pretty sure Yoko kicked out of it and then dropped a better leg on Hogan. Now, there's a guy that you could give a leg drop to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yoko.
He's huge, and the leg drop works. And the leg drop can work as a finish. The leg drop off the top rope. A big guy like Yoko dropping the leg, or the Famouser, that's a variation on a leg drop. And those kind of work. But Hogan is such a big guy, you've got to expect a power move out of him.
A power bomb, a suplex, something.
Something. Or some kind of big strike, that
And-
could be okay too.
And I think of the 80s, if they would have booked it right, Hogan's finisher could have been like a superplex off the top rope. I mean, you could have just billed that as Hogan's finisher and no one would have ever done it.
No, yeah.
I mean, we could do it now because everyone does these finishers now. Like, CM Punk did an elbow drop.
Yeah.
Bailey does an elbow drop.
But let's be fair to Hogan here. If you compare that leg drop to the other finishes at the time, it's not all that bad. I mean, you got Jim Duggan with like a shoulder block. I mean, come on.
Jim Duggan's doing like a shoulder tackle. And oh, by the way, you never saw it because he never wrestled a full match.
Yeah.
Then you have like the Warriors Gorilla Press Slam.
Yeah.
Which people get confused again, just like we said in the last episode. The finish is actually the stupid splash he did. And again, why is a brick shit house doing a splash do it from the top rope?
Or just do the press slam. That's fine too.
Yeah. Or just do the press slam. That's all you need to do is the press slam cover. You don't need to do the running and then it's stupid.
No. And now if it's a big guy like Earthquake, then that works. Now he did the
It
whoopsie
makes
and all that, but
sense.
it makes sense.
It makes sense. For Earthquake just to squash dudes in the middle of the ring by sitting on them, it makes sense. The dude is like 400 and something pounds. That's why it makes sense for Yoko to have a bonsai drop from the corner rope. It makes sense. Not only is he dropping on you with his humongous ass, he's dropping on you with his humongous ass from the second rope, which is the deadliest rope,
Yes,
by the way.
yes, Brett's rope.
And that's believable.
Yeah, or the Vader bomb.
Oh, the Vader bomb, the flipping Vader bomb.
Oh, my
That dude,
goodness.
let's talk about a guy who is so athletic as a big man.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I went back and I watched some of his 80 matches, 1980 stuff in WCW, like early 90s.
Yeah, and the Japan stuff too.
Yes, he doesn't get gassed very
No,
fast. Not
no.
like these big dudes you see now. He reminds me almost of like a Keith Lee in WWE who doesn't get gassed too fast. As a big dude, he's not getting gassed like 10 minutes into the match. It's not like watching Yoko at like WrestleMania 9 where he's like, he couldn't get, like, if you listen to the story of WrestleMania 9, Brett talks about how he couldn't get to the second part of the match, and that's why the match seemed so short, because they had to cut to the finish because Yoko couldn't keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about some more 80s finishing moves here. Okay, what do you think the most prominent finishing move in the '80s was?
Oh, I don't know. You saw some guys come off the top rope like Jimmy Snuka. You got Ricky Steamboat coming off the top. You've got Macho Man dropping the elbow. These are some good ones. I know they're kind of ho-hum now, but not a lot of guys came off the top when Jimmy was doing it.
But what about when I think of the '80s and I think of good finishers, right? How about
The Alabama Slam by the Big Boss Man.
You mean the Boss Man Slam, the Sidewalk Slam?
I mean, no, it's not the sidewalk slam. It's where he does the.
The Alabama Slam is Bob Holly, where he does the power bomb, where he grabs the legs and then flips over. The Boss Man Slam is the Sidewalk Slam, or the Black Hole Slam, or whatever you want to call it.
It's called, yeah, it's not a side. When I think of sidewalk slam, I'm thinking Kevin Nash picking them up like this and then dropping them on their side. It's almost like a belly. It's almost like a backbreaker variation.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
drops
yeah,
to the
yeah.
mat. That's a sidewalk. That's what I think that you're talking about now.
Yeah, yeah.
The black hole slam, which is the Big Boss Man. Or
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever they called whatever he called that finisher. I believe that finisher.
Yeah,
And you know what's funny? When you
Uh-huh.
watch these old pay-per-views from the '80s and stuff, or old matches from the '80s, it was protected. People didn't kick out of it. People didn't kick out of finishers in the '80s very often.
No, not very often. Maybe at Mania, but it's not say. But even then, you didn't hardly see it. And you saw a lot of finishes back then where guys didn't hit their finish.
What do you mean?
They might get hit with a big move, and that big move would finish the match on weekly TV. And then by the time you got to the pay-per-view, then you'd see the finisher get locked in, whether it's a hold or a big move itself, and then you'd end up seeing that.
Do you think booking was better in the '80s than it is right now?
Sometimes. It's always a case-by-case basis. There was really bad booking in the 80s, and then really good booking in the 80s. Really good booking in the 80s is the feud between Jake Roberts and Ricky Steamboat. That's really good booking. You see really good booking in the early 90s between Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, even though we didn't get the finish to that feud because Marty wanted to do cocaine and get suspended. But before we got there, the booking was really, really good.
Oh yeah, another shout out to OSW here when they talk about it. When they talk about Shawn in the ring with the mirror and he's looking at himself, and then somehow the cameraman perfectly got it to where you see Marty standing behind him and Shawn's reaction and all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, it's all Kevin Dunn.
No, yeah, and it's perfect. It's
Yeah.
perfect. And there's no need to change it. Like Kevin Dunn, you may be like, according to Jim Cornette, but
Yeah.
keep doing what you do.
Yeah,
Let's
he's
do it
good.
a little bit better nowadays, though, because you
Yeah.
guys are like missing finishes and missing dudes getting knocked out of the ring during a Royal Rumble, and
Yeah.
that just blows my socks off how we're missing that stuff.
Now, I brought up Shawn, and he's a guy that had a real bad finish when he first became a singles competitor.
The teardrop suplex.
Yeah, that's a terrible finish.
That was a terrible finish to teardrop suplex. But then again, let's talk about his actual finish now. The super kick, the sweet chin music.
That one was protected, and because it was protected, it's a great finish. Now, everybody does it. As much as I love a super kick party from the Young Bucks. Come
Everyone
on.
does it. Everybody literally does a super kick, and I honestly can sit here and say that you never saw a super kick getting done in the 90s in WWE as often as we do now.
I don't-
Maybe that's because Shawn's...
I don't remember seeing anybody do it other than Shawn, and when
Even
Shawn
if they
did it,
did a
it's over.
super kick, I'm not trying to cut you off, even if
Sure.
they did a super kick, they wouldn't call it a super kick, and they would call it a side kick of some kind or something like that. Because all Ken Shamrock used to do in his matches was punch, kick, a little belly to belly,
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
belly
yeah.
to back. But at one point, he would sit there and do a variation of the super kick, but they would call it a side kick to the face.
Yeah, or a mule kick or
Yeah,
something like that.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, they never called it a super kick
Yeah.
because Shawn Michaels was the master of the super kick.
Yeah.
And even at the beginning of his time, I didn't like the super kick. I'm going to be honest with you. Hot take.
What?
In the 90s,
Oh, come on.
in the 90s, when Shawn used to do it, it used to look weak as fuck.
That's true.
But then in the later 90s, like the DX, after I lost my smile, Shawn,
Yeah.
actually, I will say the first real, true super kick I really loved was the one he clocked Bret Hart with during that Iron Man match in WrestleMania.
The quintessential super kick is in the barber shop. And Shawn nails Marty and then throws him through the glass.
Not
It's
his finisher
seared in
yet.
my memory. But
Not
it's
his
seared
finisher
in
yet.
there.
But he throws him through the glass. Now, if he super kicked him through the glass, we can have a discussion.
Oh, Kevin Dunn, where were you there? Like, you guys got to work this out where he super kicked through the window. But
I mean, Kevin
hindsight's
Dunn's doing the
20/20.
filming. He's not doing the writing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
came to Sean and was like, "Hey, we want you to, today's the day you're gonna break up at Marty, and we're gonna get rid of the rockers, and we're gonna be like, we're done. The rockers are fine. LOLOL. No, we're not. Through the window, and the beefcake's just gonna stay in there looking like an idiot.
Yeah, old Beefers. What was his finish? I don't even remember.
The choke, the sleeper.
Oh, terrible.
Him and Rowdy had the same
Gosh.
finish.
Okay, the sleeper's not terrible. It depends on who's doing it. DiBiase doing it? Fine.
Yeah, but
Piper
DiBiase
doing
did
it?
a
Fine.
variation. You know what I mean? Like he did like almost like an actual choke because like he grabbed the arm and that was the $1 million
Dream, yeah,
yeah,
you're
the
right.
$1 million dream. And then then like the chicken wing. Let's talk about that.
Oh, the crossface chicken wing,
The
devastating.
cross-face chicken wing. On a guy even in the 90s, they still sold this move like it was devastating even when they weren't high on the guy.
Well, they protected that move, and they protected Backlund for a cup of coffee there, and it really worked. And that feud with Brett, where it was the crossface chicken wing versus the sharpshooter, really well done.
Oh, shut up and take my money. So ready to see it. But here's my problem with Bret Hart. I'm a face, but I'm not going to release the hold once I beat the guy. I have a big problem with that. That's a heel move. If you want to be a heel, then be a heel. Don't act like I'm giving my glasses to kids, but when I'm in the ring and I win the match, and I've clearly won, I'm going to let go of the hold. That's what a face should do.
I get where you're coming from, and I don't disagree. However, if we're working the match as if it's really an athletic contest and it's two dudes that are having a heated fight, the guy's going to lock that hold in, and he's just going to keep it in because he's been in a fight.
All I'm saying is you can watch a guy in UFC get tapped by the ref and be like, it's done, it's over, let go. He lets go.
Sure.
So once the ref is tapping you on the shoulder and saying, he gave up, it's over. Let's, ding, 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 ding. Matt, beep, ding, 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 ding. It's over. Your music is playing.
Sure,
Let
sure.
go of the hold. You're the face. Now, if Backlund, if it was reversed and Backlund had the chicken wing on him and kept holding on to it, it's completely believable. Backlund's
Sure.
supposed to be acting a little crazy.
Sure.
He's the heel. Yeah, hold on to the hold. My problem is with the face.
Sure. I don't disagree with you. What I'm saying is I understand where that action is coming from within trying to work the match as if it's a real contest. However, we all know it's not a real contest.
Well, yeah, it's clearly all scripted. It's clearly all. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's fake.
It's a work.
It's a work. Exactly. It's a work. Like these dudes are clearly hurting each other doing these things. Like these dudes are taking time off their life, suplexes and suit power slams. Like even though they're learning how to fall, they're still going home and icing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't fake fall off a ladder.
No, you can't fake go through a table. Even
Yeah.
if it's a prop table, it's
Doesn't
still
matter.
gonna hurt.
Or fake get hit by Honky Tonk's guitar.
Or fake gets hit by Jeff Jarrett's guitar and didn't draw a dime.
Hey, I like Jeff Jarrett. Come on now.
Jeff Jarrett is not great. Let's be real.
Oh man, that's the mid Southern guy in me. Jarrett he's a Memphis guy. Jerry Jarrett, come on.
I mean, I get it, and I'm a Northern guy, so for me, it's like WWE all the way. And even though I'm not a WWE guy anymore, or at the time it was WWF or No Way or The Highway,
Yeah.
even though I still tuned into WCW and things like that, I always believed in WWF. I always believed WWF was going to win. I'm like, I'm
Sure.
from New York, he's from New York, let's get this done.
Yeah.
We're not going to be like the New York Knickerbockers of wrestling.
Oh man, come on. Hey, they were playing 500 ball.
They were playing 500 ball, and sadly they're not. Off topic real fast. Let's do a quick tidbit.
Josh Hardbody, how do you feel about that Super Bowl?
Oh, I'm not feeling great about it. Tom Brady put a finishing move on my heart. As a New York Jets fan, which I guess I'm a Jets fan because I don't have any self-respect. I could just be a Giants fan like you, but I picked the wrong team 25 years ago, and now I'm stuck with him, and we had to play in the same division as Tom Brady for 20 years, and it's terrible. It's terrible. He needs to get off of my television, worse than Randy Orton and Vince McMahon and The Undertaker and Goldberg and all of them. He's a bigger heel than all of them combined.
Really?
I hate Tom Brady.
I mean, I can tell. All right, back to business, though.
Anyway.
So we got the finishers out of the way. Not really, but here's one more that comes to mind.
Sure.
Let's talk tag team real fast.
Okay.
And let's talk about the Bushwhackers.
Oh, that battering ram. Oh, gosh, it's terrible.
That didn't even look like it hurt. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like it hurts when Anvil picks you up and Brett clotheslines you off
Sure,
out
yeah.
of Anvil's hand. The Doomsday device clearly looks like it hurts.
Or the 3D.
Or the 3D. Or the Steiners with the Bulldog
Yeah.
off the top.
I always liked the Frankensteiner as a move better, but it's still
I
cool.
always worried about the guy taking it. Scott always looked like he was going to hurt. Like, some of those dudes either A, did not move quick enough and then would fall on their head. Like, I particularly remember a match when they fought the Beverly Brothers at, like, I think WrestleMania 4 or 5.
Yeah,
And
I know the spot you're talking
Duke
about.
or Blake or whatever the hell the Beverly Brothers' name was literally falls directly on his head, and I'm just like, that dude's paralyzed. I mean, clearly he wasn't, but still, I'm like, holy crap.
Is the Hurricane Rana or the Frankenstein or whatever you want to call it, is that more about the guy giving the move or taking the move? Is that really Scott's fault?
I don't think it's Scott's fault, but I think we can go into a safe bet here and say the Steiner, the Frankensteiner as itself, the way he used to do it in the 90s when he would run up against the rope and come and jump and do it to you real fast, it's kind of on both of them. Like, either
Sure.
A, you don't set your timing to flip right with Scott, or Scott's just doing a move that's so fast that maybe we need to slow it down a little bit.
And Scott's a little bit big to
Yeah.
do a move like that, where you see the luchadors, the smaller guys, they pull it off much, much cleaner. Or the cruiserweights in the WCW, they're pulling those moves off much cleaner.
Yes, and I will agree with you there that I don't like. I was never when you first saw Scott Steiner do the Frankenstein, you were like, "Holy crap!"
Oh, yeah, it's
Look at
incredible.
this guy. One, in the 80s and 90s, you weren't seeing that very often.
No.
So like you were like, okay, and then you sit here and watch people do it. Like when I remember when you started watching WCW and you started seeing all the luchadors, right?
Yeah.
And they were doing it like it's a cup of coffee, like whatever. We do this all the time, but they would always call it a Frankensteiner.
Yes, in WCW. Yeah.
Because you never saw it before, except onesies and twosies, and it was Scott doing it in a match in WWF.
Yes.
So no one called it a Hurricane Rana. We don't got the guy in AEW right now with the mask on, I can't think of his name, who's like calling every move by a Mexican name.
Oh, Excalibur.
Excalibur.
Suicida.
Yeah. Okay, it's a suicide dive. Let's
Yeah.
let's calm down. But he sells it, you know what I mean? Like he's selling it, and I get it. But it's like you didn't see it that often.
Yeah.
But then you had you guys like Rey Mysterio, La Parker, all these
Yeah.
cats showing up who were dropping a Frankensteiner
Yeah.
left and right.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head for the reason for that. The Steiners wrestled in the NWA and then Crockett, WCW. All that's in the South.
Yep.
And that's the only place that we saw a move like a Hurricane Rana, and it was the Frankensteiner. Then the Luchadors come in with Conan and all those guys from AAA, and they're in WCW.
Would you say Hulk Hogan Conan is the best Conan?
Oh.
Like the Luchador Conan?
No, the best Conan is in a wheelchair Conan on Lucha Underground.
Oh my God! So you really think that damn? Did you remember seeing Conan for the first time before he went like Viva la Raza?
Oh, yeah, when he was coming out looking like an Aztec warrior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's freaking dumb.
Yeah, it didn't really work. And Conan's great. He's got a great finisher, the Tequila Sunrise. Big
Yes,
fan.
yes. Conan very underrated, by the way.
Yeah, oh,
he
yeah.
could work. He had a good mind for the business. If I was Conan, I'd be trying to get a job with AEW right now.
I don't think he's interested. Like, I wish he was, but
Oh, no,
I just
don't
don't think
he's
he
interested.
is.
I think him and Disco are just having fun on a podcast like we are, talking shit.
Yeah.
Like that's all they're really doing. Obviously, they have a lot more credibility than we do because we're just
Okay.
fans.
Yeah,
and
we're
Disco
just-
is Disco. You know what I'm saying?
We're just a couple marks out here in internet land.
Yeah, and just sitting here talking and spitting what we want to spit, and that's about it. So you got the finishers. We're coming in on the 12-minute mark. I'd like to give you guys a heads up. 12 minutes to go, but so let's talk about some more. What do you want to hit on? Let's just open the floor to discussion. What do you want to hit on?
What is the finisher, the quintessential wrestling finisher that's burned in your mind? What's the move, and when is the move being applied? That when you think of a wrestling finish and finisher, what do you think of?
What do I think of?
Yeah.
The jackknife powerbomb.
Which one?
I would have to say it's the one that he gave to Brett.
Absolutely, that's the one.
I'm not trying to sit here and sell my Scampoli Markism,
Mm-hmm.
but when you listen to Kevin Scampoli talk about it, I have to completely agree. Like when you watched him give it to Brett, it was just something about it. It was just total yes.
Yeah, that's the one that raised me. But when I think of the jackknife powerbomb, I think of Kevin powerbombing Big Show.
Oh, you're talking about WCW Nitro?
Yeah.
Again, I felt really unsafe watching that happen.
Yeah, he definitely
I was
not
like,
safe.
oh my God, Show's going to get hurt doing this. And that he didn't. Kevin dropped him. Perfect. I don't remember Show dropping on his head or anything like that. I seen other people get dropped on their head. Most of the time, it was jobbers by Kevin in WWF.
Yeah. I mean, they did do it again, and he has dropped Show on his
He
head.
has
But that
dropped Show
first
on his
one, I don't
head,
think
yes,
he
but
did.
that very first one, he did not. Like, that first time you were watching Kevin Nash pick up Giant, it did not look bad.
See, for me, I like finishers that come out of nowhere, and there's two in particular that stand out to me. The move's the Diamond Cutter. It's DDP, Show's fixing to choke slam him, and he turns it into the Diamond Cutter midair and smokes him and pins him.
All
10
right.
out of 10, love it. And then the quintessential Diamond Cutter moment. DDP has the NWO shirt on. He shakes Scott Hall's hand. He pulls him in. Bang! Out of nowhere. And I love it.
But here's the reason why I love that one so much, and I'll
Sure.
agree with you on that one. It's because, and it's just like when you hear him talk, he was the first guy to get away with hurting the NWO and get out of there without getting jumped and everything else.
It made his career.
He was made that, yes, because by that, during that time, what he was the dude coming out in like the literally really shitty fucking wrestling pants and everything else, and it was after that when he started coming out in the blue jeans and
the
he
tape
started
ribs.
getting beat up by the NWO, and that's when he got the tape ribs, and that's when you watched the great matches between him and Randy Savage.
Oh,
And him and Randy Savage put on some great matches.
so good.
I think they had like two or three, and they were just great. I really enjoyed them, especially the one at Halloween Havoc.
Yeah.
The year before he fought for the title, I believe, against
Yeah.
Goldberg. And that is just quintessential DDP Randy Savage. And you got to think about it, at that time, Randy Savage was probably pushing about 45, 46 maybe.
I'm sure, something like that.
Yeah, and he was still able to sit there and go that long. And it's real good when you listen to someone like DDP talk about it, because DDP is very humble for everything he's done. When you
Yeah.
listen to him talk about it, he talked about the fact of the night when he was having this match with Randy Savage.
Mhm.
He came to Diamond Dallas Page and was like, "I think we're taking the Diamond Cutter tonight. I think I want to take the Diamond Cutter." All right, cool. And they went out and did it, and they had that great match. And then all of a sudden, he takes the Diamond Cutter and gives the pin to DDP.
And it's 10 out of 10. And it's because Randy is smart to the business. Randy knows that he's got to make other stars, and he's a name that can do that. And that's part of what made DDP the guy. DDP was he was the only guy that had stood up to the NWO to that point, because everybody else had just got run roughshod on or had joined him. And he gets to be the guy that stands up against him. And then we have the whole Sting angle and all that.
Well,
as
but even if you go back to that, you're absolutely right. He is the only guy that never joined him, because technically Sting even joined him.
yeah,
Sting joined.
does the Wolfpack really count the babyface NWO?
It does. It's still the NWO.
Wolfpack coming at you, mass destruction. Terrible.
But then you sit here and think about it. So do you think Vince dropped the ball then with a guy like Randy Savage, who went to Vince before he left and was like, "I want to do a promo, or I want to do a package with Shawn Michaels."
Yeah, program, yeah.
A program with Shawn Michaels. Do you think Vince should have pulled the trigger on that and let Savage, a very well-known star, build a guy who's just now coming into his heel as persona,
Yeah.
just coming singles, and you could have had a guy like Savage build him up, and not have a guy like Hogan who was only worried about Hogan, where Savage was worried about the business.
That time period with the WWE is complicated because I get where Vince is coming from. He's wanting to get younger. Is he really going to draw any more money out of Randy at the time? And now hindsight's 2020. We know that Randy was able to draw money in WCW, but Vince doesn't know that at the time, because it definitely looks like Randy's petered out and Hogan's petering out, and guys like Slaughter are retiring and Warrior didn't pan
And
out.
Beefcake can't wrestle, and Hogan's
Yeah.
leaving, so we can finally fire him. And
So I don't think Vince is an idiot there. It just didn't shake out. In the long run, it shook out for Vince, but in the short run, it didn't.
I understand that, but my point of the matter is like, you could at least given Randy one more match, and not against Kona Crush in WrestleMania 10.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
give them an actual match. Like, I hate to say this, but Crush can actually wrestle if you give him someone to wrestle against. If you gave him a guy like Randy Savage, it probably would have been a decent match if it wasn't the stupid, you got to stay out of the ring for 10 seconds stipulation at WrestleMania 10.
Yeah.
And we already know, and I get that. I get what you're saying, too, where Vince didn't know and Vince doesn't want to sit here and take the gamble. But what do you have? Name 10 guys for me he had when Savage was still there on commentary.
Oh, you're definitely right. I mean,
I can name 5 right now. Michaels,
Yep.
Brett, Diesel,
Mhm.
Razor,
Perfect.
Perfect was still there.
Mhm.
Technically, Flair was still there, but he was on his way out too because Vince said that pretty much the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to draw any more money. Yoko,
Ugh.
I mean, Monster Heel.
Yeah.
He drew money as champion.
Owens
First-
there.
Owens not in prominence yet though, but he's there.
He's coming. It's coming.
The narcissist.
Oh,
Luger's
Luger.
there.
Oh, God.
And then can we put Kona Crush in there? Can we
No,
put Crush?
I no. Like, I think Crush had a really good look and was over with kids like me. But as far as longevity with a company, no, it's not going to work out.
Then I got nothing, and that's it. I only got 9.
They don't have a lot going for them.
No.
Is the big idea.
So let me paint you a picture, right?
Sure.
Here's my WrestleMania 9 card
Mhm.
that I'm going to paint for you right now.
Okay.
Why do we have Tatanka versus Shawn Michaels? I'm going to paint you a picture.
I'm listening. Tell me.
Why don't we have Shawn come out on Raw and just start talking crap to Randy Savage about the fact of, you're sitting there trying to pin a guy during the Royal Rumble and he popped you out with his belly. This, that, and the other. And you have it. All right, I'm going to paint the card for you, WrestleMania 9. Okay, here we go. Savage versus Michaels, first match.
Okay.
I'm going to remove Tatanka. I'm going to keep Doink versus Crush. You need that match that no one really cares about.
Doink bruh bruh.
Doink, bruh. I'm going to keep the Narcissist versus Perfect.
Yep.
I'm going to make it Razor versus Tatanka instead of Razor versus Backlund. It doesn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand it then. And to be honest with everyone on the internet, I don't understand it now. You're obviously going to keep Hogan and Beefers versus the Millionaires or the Money Incorporated.
Yeah.
Which, great tag team, by the way.
Yeah,
IRS
Rotunda.
and $1 Million Man.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously we're going to keep the main event, Yoko versus Brett. We're not going to do the Hogan run-in, though.
Absolutely not.
We're just going to let Yoko hold on to the title.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to change again, though, and I know I didn't change much of this card, because honestly, the matches aren't terrible on that card. Luger's a little wet behind the ears against someone like Perfect, but they make sense why they're fighting.
And it works because Kurt Hennig's a guy that's a ring technician that
Yes.
can bump around Luger.
Yes. I'm going to change Taker's match,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to make it Taker. Who do I got?
Keep in mind, this is Zombie Taker we're talking about.
Yeah, but Zombie Taker is sitting there feuding against everybody under the sun. I mean, he feuded with Jake once.
Mm-hmm.
So why couldn't you have... Okay, actually, I'm going to change it. I'm not going to put Razor versus Yoko. I'm going to make it Razor versus Taker.
Ooh.
And that's the 9 card.
You think that naturally makes sense with what Razor's able to do?
Taker was already face as it is.
Okay.
It's the 90s. Let's talk about stupid storylines,
Okay. I mean, I'll tune into that match.
Razor steals the urn and melts it down into a necklace. They do this like years later.
Yeah,
But wouldn't it make sense for Razor?
Yeah, it would, and they do that.
And don't you
with,
think it'd be a better match
Kama.
than the Giant Gonzalez?
Yes, that was a terrible match.
Oh, they used chloroform
Yeah,
on a dead man.
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And that's my WrestleMania 9 card. That would be the way I would rebook WrestleMania 9.
I'll tune in just because you made the card.
Honestly, what would be wrong with that card?
I mean, it's
Your
fine.
speechlessness tells me no.
Yeah, I guess it's fine.
For the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not pulling from WCW. I'm not pulling from other companies.
Sure.
I'm literally going with what I got in WWF. I'm not pulling Diesel yet because he's not even Shawn Michaels. Is like he
Bodyguard,
still
yeah.
has. He's got Luna at this point, which again,
Makes no sense.
Luna Vachon?
isn't it like Vashon?
Yeah,
Or
something like that.
It's like Luna Vashon, which honestly, apparently, very nice woman. Married to Gangrel later on.
Yeah, and she
Apparently-
died a few
yeah,
years ago. Yeah.
You know, fly high.
Yeah.
But you sit here and like we could sit here and talk about what we would do for WrestleMania, what we would do. But honestly, if I was given the tools, if I was given the stuff they were given, I feel like as a fan in '93,
Mm-hmm.
was it '93? '93, yeah, because '94 is WrestleMania 10 with the Brett and Owen.
Yeah.
I would rather have seen Razor versus Taker than Kamala versus Taker.
Sure, and
I mean, not Kamala, but the Great or the
John Gonzalez.
the Yeti versus
Yeah.
Taker.
Well, and booking the feud that way makes more sense because they did it later and it didn't work that great because it was Kama the Ultimate Fighter.
And let's talk about that for a second. That was probably Taker just doing a solid for one of like his best friends.
Yeah, and you know when he becomes the Godfather, he gets a real gimmick.
Oh, he gets a real gimmick that finally works. Like he's been like 3 or 4 different things.
Yeah.
He was